the Mets, meet the Mets. Step right up and greet the Mets. Bring your kiddies, bring your wife. Guaranteed to have the time of your life, because the Mets are really socking the ball, knocking those home runs over the wall. East side, west side, everybody's coming down to meet the METS Mets of New York town. Oh, the butcher and the baker and the people on the streets, where do they go? To meet the Mets! Oh, they're hollering and cheering and they're jumping in their seats. Where do they go? To meet the Mets! All the fans are true to the orange and blue, so hurry up and come on down, 'cause we got ourselves a ball club, the Mets of New York town. Give 'em a yell, give 'em a hand, and let 'em know you're rooting in the stand. Come on and meet the Mets, meet the Mets.
What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to Mets Talk Live right here on the channel. A special MLB trade line edition of Mets Talk Live. Hopefully everybody is enjoying themselves on this Monday night, about an hour before Mets Twins tonight. And listen, guys, trade deadline can be very frustrating to Mets fans, could be very frustrating to baseball fans. And there's a lot of fan bases that are going through what the New York Mets went through last year at the trade deadline when they were complete sellers at the deadline. So it's not an easy time for all fans, but a lot of fun times for other fans. And we're in this kind of middle ground where the Mets are buyers, but how big of buyers? And we're still in that phase right now, 24 hours until the deadline is over exactly. Listen, I still think there's going to be a big move. I still think that it's going to be a big bullpen arm, even though I did put out a video today about the starting rotation and a big arm they could get. If you haven't checked out that video, please do. I put it out earlier today. Trust me, guys, David Stearns is working. Just because we don't hear rumors about the Mets being involved. Did you hear anything about Stanek? Did you hear anything about Winker? Did you hear anything about Maton? No. You haven't heard any rumors before the trade happened. The Stanek news came out of nowhere, the middle of the night. The Jesse Winker deal came out of nowhere, right? The Mets were talking about Michael Conforto with the Giants. We didn't hear anything about Winker. The fans were trying to push for Winker because they were upset that they were going after Conforto. So it kind of makes sense that when you don't hear rumors, I believe that's a good sign for our New York Mets, guys. 100%. Because I know that leaks are not happening for the Mets. And Matthew was saying nobody left for big arms. That's not true. Flaherty's still available. Skubal is still available. Snell is still available. Those guys are available. It's just a matter of, are you able to get a package together to get those guys, right? Blake Snell, I can guarantee you can take that contract on and maybe give a Brett Beatty and a lower level prospect, right? Skubal is going to cost you, right? I put up a video about Skubal. Check that out, and I'll really make people get pissed off because it's about taking on a bad contract. Yeah, but Chris, that's not true though. Jesse Winker was one of the best bench bats on the market. That is so false. Ryan Stanek would have been traded at this deadline, regardless if it was to the Mets or not. So just because Stearns was proactive in these moves over the last couple of days doesn't mean that these guys are not noticeable. That's so wrong. Jesse Winker was one of the best bench bats on the market. Like that is so untrue and not fair. You don't hear about it because the Mets don't leak anything, right? We haven't heard rumors for the Mets about anything. The last rumor we heard from a reporter that has any relevance was that the Mets are going to be buyers. They're going for it. That was 5 days ago. And that was from a rival exec telling a reporter that. So you didn't even get it from the Mets. The fact of the matter is, they are doing what they need to do to get stuff done. So, I mean, it's unfortunate. The Cubs and the Cards and Dodgers screwed everything for us. I mean, I guess. But, I mean, who did you want? Right? You wanted Eric Fetty? Oh, okay. Okay, is that a big move? I mean, just because he's playing good for the White Sox doesn't mean it's going to be a big move. Like, Kopech would have been a good move, but again, it's kind of like, were people even talking about those guys? I know Fetty was talked about, but Kopech wasn't talked about. So, we don't hear nothing, but that doesn't mean things are not going to get done. Yeah, Chris, that is also very silly. Of course, look, nobody cares about bench bats if you don't need bench bats. The Mets needed a bench bat to replace DJ Stewart. So to say that you're upset. I get it. But give it a chance. There's still a lot of top arms on the market. Just because you don't believe they're top arms doesn't mean they're not. You're not hearing rumors because David Stearns, Steve Cohen, and the Mets don't leak out information. I'm sorry. We heard nothing about the three guys. Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. He was the best bench bat on the market. If you don't believe that, look at the bats, the small bats that were bench pieces that have been traded. Justin Turner has not been better than Jesse Winker this year. Right? There's other bench bats that are going to be moving. Jesse Winker was number one. If you go back to the rankings, I think it was a couple of sports websites that ranked top positions, top players at individual positions. They did pitch, starting pitcher, bullpen, outfield, infield, bench players. Jesse Winker was number one. So, yeah, well, listen, Chris, I'm on board with you, buddy. I don't give a shit about prospects. I get whatever I need to get to win for this year, right? And even if you do give prospects, you're not killing your farm system anyway. I agree with you on that. But that's why I said the unthinkable, because I go right back to the prospect huggers and say, all right, do you want to win? If you come back with yes, well, you got to take on a bad contract. Oh, good. Well, all right, how about Javier Baez? Maybe you can get Flaherty or Skubal. Yeah, I don't know if I want to buy. Well, then you're not going to make any moves. So the people who are complaining the most are the prospect huggers. They don't want to give up prospects, but they also don't want to take on a bad contract. You have to choose one because you're a buyer now. Deal with it. Even if you don't believe in this team, the Mets made Stearns become a buyer. That's it. You got to change that mentality. If you're not going to change that mentality, then why watch the team at all? Because you're just wasting your time because you really don't want to win. And I truly believe that there's some Met fans out there that would rather them lose so they can bitch and complain and be negative on social media than seeing them win. You can't give up prospects or not give up prospects and expect amazing trades to happen for big arms. Like I was talking to somebody today that's a prospect hugger, and they were like, wow, you know what I really like? I would love for them to get Flaherty. I would love for them to get Skubal or Blake Snell. I'm like, okay, good. That's nice. And I told them Skubal is going to be very hard to get, but maybe if you take on a bad contract, you could probably do it. Yeah, you got to give him maybe a prospect or two, but you're still getting an arm that you're going to have control over for 2.5 years, and he's a young arm. He's a top of the rotation arm. And now you don't have to spend $250 million in the offseason for a top-line starter, which the Mets probably going to have to do. So it's amazing to me that the people that complain about giving up prospects are the same people that don't want to take on a bad contract, and they claim they want to win. But I don't believe that. Daniel, I agree Baez's contract is really bad, but I'm looking at it from the perspective, if the Mets are not willing to give up top prospects, they're not getting anybody of significance. To get somebody of significance that's going to help this team this year at the very least, and possibly in the future, you're going to have to give up. You're going to have to take on a bad contract. I know Baez's contract is really bad, but it's only 3.5 years left on the contract. And who knows? Maybe you hit lightning in a bottle with Baez, getting a second chance with the Mets, with Lindor. Now, we all forget about Baez when he came to the Mets the first time. Lindor just basically got here. He was still trying to find his foot in. He wasn't really a Met, quote unquote. Now he's a leader. He knows who he is. He is the big guy on this team. He's not going to let Baez screw up anything here. And that might even rejuvenate Baez a little bit. I'm not saying Baez is going to be great, but why can't he be a decent performer for us? I'm not saying he will be, but it's not about Baez. It's about Skubal. That's the point. That's the point, guys. That's what I'm trying to get at. Like, we're overlooking the main reason we would make that trade. How nice would it be to go into any series with Skubal and Severino as your 1-2? It's a lot better than Severino and, Manaea, Quintana, even though they've been okay. It's a lot different. Well, yeah, Matthew, it's been about Tanner Scott, but it's not just the Mets. It's everywhere. But that's also the Marlins being – Tanner Scott is not going to get traded until tomorrow. The Marlins do this all the time. Go back to the last couple of seasons when they've traded people. It's been a few hours before the deadline because they know they're going to get these teams nervous and anxious. Oh, my God, the time's coming up. We got to get it done. We got to get it done. And then somebody pivots and says, all right, we'll give you this. I guarantee you the Marlins have offers on the table. But why choose today when you can do it tomorrow and get teams a little bit scared, and you might get one more team to call them and say, listen, that other prospect you wanted? Add it to the package. Boom, done deal. This is what's going on right now, guys. Like, we have to understand that. It's not about just what the Mets need. The Mets need stuff, but the teams that are probably going for the same guys need them as well. So the Mets are doing a balancing act because, let's be honest, Met fans, how many Met fans have I had on my channel in the offseason, going into the season, saying that this was a transition year? Well, what did you think Stearns was thinking? Now, plans change, but he also doesn't want to just blow up a farm system. Listen, I don't agree with that. Like, I'm not saying get rid of 7 out of your top 10 prospects here. I don't think you have to do that to get better. But a guy to do something that, say if they can get Skubal, but it's without Javier Baez, you're going to have to give up at least 2 top 5 prospects and definitely another top 15 prospect, somewhere in that 6 to 12 range. Are you willing to do that? I am. I think the Mets have enough infield prospects that are not going to be able to have any room on this major league roster. I do it. You can do that, get Skubal, have him for a very fair deal, who is arbitration eligible for 2.5 more years, and have him in the top of your rotation. And then next year, you have got Skubal and Kodai Senga and possibly even Severino if you sign him. That's a good 1-2. That's a hell of a good 1-2-3. So that's where we are right now when it comes to the deadline. It's I don't think Stearns is afraid to give up prospects. I think he's more concerned about giving up pitching prospects than position player prospects. That's my take on David Stearns. Alonso way down and up. Tommy not going to come back. He already tried. Let's see. Stearns, let's see. Pure Stearns said he expected this team to be competitive. Yeah, he expected them to be competitive, but I thought that was just for the fans to shut up the Met fans, to be quite honest, which didn't really shut them up. Right? because Met fans laughed at him. We're going to be competitive. Well, we are. And now all Met fans look stupid because he believed in his team. Now, again, what level he believed in his team, I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and put words in his mouth. But I can assure you, look, he set up this season to give himself options, right? We talked about this with Chris many times during the start of the season. He got a lot of these rental players, these one-year deal players or guys with options on the premises. If the Mets are bad, they can sell and get a ton of prospects back. But he also left the option of keeping these guys around just in case they actually are pretty good and become buyers at the deadline. Now, I think he was probably leaning towards a seller because I don't think anybody could really see this team being more competitive than we are. Like, we are actually probably more competitive than anybody believed. So, and maybe he even thought, all right, they might be a 500 team, maybe a little bit less. But if they were 4 or 5 games out of a wild card spot, they would be sellers. So I think David Stearns had to pivot. And I still think he's going to trade some prospects here. Maybe even take on a bad contract to get some help over here. Because you can't tell me that we don't need a starter. And remember, guys, we didn't need a starter 3 days ago. With Kodai Senga coming back, that was addition. But because Senga went down, he probably was trying to get a ton of bullpen help. But when you lose Kodai Senga, you need that extra starter. So his plan, again, got squashed and has to refocus on something else. So I think his plan, he probably had a whiteboard that showed everything about bullpen and a bench bat. When Senga went down, he probably had to erase everything. Like, oh, damn, I wanted to get 2 more bullpen arms, but now we need a starter. So, that's a pivot within not even 3 days. That's a huge pivot. So, again, I ask you guys, I'm willing to give up prospects, right? I'm sick and tired of prospect huggers bitching and moaning that they want to win, but don't really want to give up anything. Well, what are you doing then? Like, I'm sick and tired of that. Like, you have an opportunity to make the playoffs. If baseball now hasn't taught you anything, is that if you make the playoffs, you have a good a shot as the number 1 overall team in the playoffs. Say if it is the Phillies, you have a chance just as much as the Phillies do. Yes, the odds are going to be different, but tell the Diamondbacks that. Tell the Phillies of 2022 that. Tell 2019 Nationals that. Because all I've heard for years, the Dodgers are the favorites. They're going to win. When do they win? Never. Right? Oh, look, the Yankees. Oh, my God. Every year. Favorites. They don't make the World Series. So, come on. Right? Don't say you're going to be buyers and rival execs saying that they've heard the Mets are going to be buyers and half-ass another deadline. Because half-assing a deadline doesn't get you anywhere than probably either just missing the playoff or get into the playoffs, and maybe that move that you could have made is on a team that you're facing now. That's a problem. Like, I mean, we have so many infield prospects. Where are they all playing? Unless somebody can play first, which I don't think that's going to happen. Then where are all these guys playing? You can't throw 3 guys on second base. Right? If Vientos is going to be out third base of the future, if Lindor is going to be here, obviously for the long term, say if second base is the only open spot, you got Mauricio, you got Williams, you got Acuna. Where are these guys playing? None of these guys have been proven to be outfielders. And I'm not trying that experiment. All right? I'm sick of that experiment. They're infielders. They are middle infielders and possibly third basemen. Let's understand that. So, how about picking 1 or 2 of them to use as assets? And I'm not saying to get rentals. Those guys that you're trading should be for a guy that you might have a year or 2 of control over. That's what you have to look at, right? You're still keeping Gilbert. You're still keeping Clifford. You're still keeping your pitching prospect in Sproat, Tidwell, Vazel, right? What about Colin Hoke? Your number 7 prospect. He's a shortstop. Where's he playing? You have 4 guys in your top 10 that are infielders middle infielders to be exact, and possibly could play for third base. Where are these guys all going? If you're not going to use them as assets, then what are you doing with them? You're just wasting another year. And I'm sick and tired of wasting another year. If you believe that the Mets can't beat anybody, then you don't pay attention to baseball enough. I've watched 2 years in a row teams that were third wildcard teams that were the worst odds to win the World Series or get to the World Series make the World Series. Did they win it? No. But if you're a Mets fan that says, oh, I don't want to just make the World Series, well, you got to make it to win it. So if you're one of those people that's saying, oh, what are you going to do? Oh, just get to the playoffs? Are you kidding me? We're the New York Mets. We never make the playoffs, ever. Get to the playoffs. See what happens. If you lose, you lose. But would you rather not make the playoffs, or would you rather have at least 3, 4, 5 games in the playoffs and see what happens? You're going to tell me you'd rather, because you can't foreshadow, you don't have a crystal ball and tell you what's going to happen, so you'd rather not make the playoffs so you don't have to deal with, oh my God, if we lose, which every team does except for one. It's crazy to me. Make the playoffs. Shit happens. We watched 2015 in front of our eyes. This team was garbage at 2015. You had Lucas Duda, Tejada, Flores, a part of this team. They weren't very good. You had a broken David Wright. You had a rookie Travis d'Arnaud. You had Juan Lagares, who was an okay center fielder. We had a really good rotation, but even them were not proven yet. They looked good, but nobody knew. They had no experience in the playoffs. We get Cespedes, and we look like a whole different team. Like, we have to understand that. 2015, the Mets have a better record now than they had in 2015. So we're just going to say, oh, well, who cares? We make the playoffs, we're going to lose. How do you know that? Unless you have a crystal ball or you're a psychic, then I don't care. Make the playoffs. Find a way to make the playoffs. This team is good enough to make the playoffs. That's it. It's just that simple. Why watch if you're going to go into a season saying, oh, well, why make the playoffs? We're going to lose anyway. Then why watch? Go watch soccer. I mean, it's just that simple. I mean, go watch a friendly. I mean, I just don't understand. Like, it makes no sense to me. This is not the NBA, guys, where the two best teams make the championship every year. The Major League Baseball playoff has become more like the NHL playoffs. It's just that simple. I don't know why people can't understand that. Chris, you could be frustrated with Cohen, but there's no reason to be. The guy have spent a ton of money just because it didn't work out. Doesn't mean he didn't try. And then he sold off and paid for Scherzer and Verlander to go away to get Ryan Clifford and Drew Gilbert and Luis Angel Acuna. No other owner is doing that. We knew this was going to be possibly a transition year. And over $150 million is coming off the books after this season. That's a ton of money with a Mets farm system that has been developed or put together quickly where no other team does it that quickly. All right? You know how you get where the Mets farm system is? Where they were nearly 20th ranked a couple of years ago? You pay large contracts to give the other team so you get top prospects back. The New York Mets have built a farm system in 2 years. That doesn't happen. When you're a top 10 farm system, you know how that happens? By having 4 or 5 losing seasons in a row and having top draft picks. The Mets didn't have to do that. And that's because of Cohen's money. That's because of Cohen saying, pay these guys, give them to these other teams, take top prospects back. You don't see that. That is unprecedented. And I'm sorry, I'd rather have my owner try to spend money knowing that it could work out, because we are the same fan base that hated the Wilpons for never spending, never trying. Now we're going to kill Cohen for what? Because it didn't work out? He's not taking the bat. He's not wearing a glove. He's not on the mound. He's not in the batter's box. The players need to perform, but no owner or GM knows how those players are going to perform who they sign or trade for until it happens. It's just that simple. Yeah, I understand that, Chris, but Max Scherzer was one of the best pitchers in baseball the year prior. Yeah, he had a dead arm in the playoffs, but was still a good pitcher. Verlander won the Cy Young the year before. So don't tell me these guys were old and done, because they weren't. Because Max Scherzer had one of the best ERAs in baseball the first year with the Mets. Then he got hurt. Justin Verlander was a Cy Young Award winner the prior year, coming off of Tommy John. So don't tell me that wasn't good moves, because we took him away from the Dodgers. Like, I just don't understand some people. We traded for Chris Bassett. I know Chris Bassett was a disaster the final 2 games he pitched for us, but he was one of our most consistent pitchers. Well, Matthew, that's your negative take. I mean, you don't watch, because you clearly don't want to see a team make the playoffs or don't want them to do anything. Chris, I understand you want everyday studs, but that takes time also. Right? What was the everyday stud you wanted that was available this offseason? Besides Ohtani, there wasn't really much. Right? We'll try to go after Juan Soto. But why are we talking about Juan Soto in 2024 when it's irrelevant for this team? What has he done since? Who? Cohen? What has he done? What was he supposed to do? Because this offseason, if you look at the big names that were available, they're not having a good season or they're injured. Besides Ohtani. Yamamoto, everybody wanted him. Possibly he's not going to pitch anymore this year. Eduardo Rodriguez for the Diamondbacks hasn't pitched all year. Right? Montgomery hasn't been good. Who'd you want? Matthew, I don't know. Listen, I'm on board. Give me Snell. Give me Scooble. Give me Crochet. Give me Flaherty. Anderson, Kikuchi. Kikuchi might not cost you much. But I'll take those guys. But it's not me. Judge wasn't happening, Chris. That's so stupid. Judge wasn't happening. Come on. He didn't even want to go back home to the Bay Area when San Francisco was offering him more money. If he didn't want to go back home to San Francisco, what do you think he was going to come and stay in New York and come to the Mets when he was a Yankee prior, grew up and developed in the Yankee farm system? Come on, that's just silly. Everybody knew he wasn't becoming a Met. Yeah, I don't believe that either, because Soto is not dedicated to the Yankees. I'm sorry. He was traded there. He has no blood loss with the Yankees. He wasn't developed by the Yankees. And Soto, who could have signed a $500 million deal with the Nationals, who developed him, who brought him up, who he dealt with, said, no, I'm not going to sign it. And if you believe that the New York Mets aren't going to have the highest offer for Juan Soto, you are fucking nuts. Just that simple. You just want to be negative because, and I just brought this up right in the beginning of the stream. There's Met fans, and Chris, maybe you're one of them. Maybe you're one of them. All right? Maybe you're one of them. Maybe you're the one Met fan or a couple Met fans that would rather them lose so you can bitch and moan and complain on social media, which you are doing, than them winning because there's nothing you can say if they're winning. Right? I don't care that you feel so upset about something that is silly because it didn't work out. Because I guarantee you were clapping for joy when the Mets signed Scherzer, when they made all these deals, when they signed Marte and Escobar and traded for Bassett. They did win 101 games. Just because it didn't end up well doesn't mean it was the wrong moves. Scherzer was the best pitcher on the market that offseason. You were like, oh, I don't want an old guy. I don't want an old guy for all that money. Well, the Dodgers, who are Major League Baseball darlings, were going to try to sign him for similar money. The Mets gave him the extra year. That's why they got him. Like, I don't understand what people wanted. The Mets got the the biggest arm on the market that year, and traded for a very quality arm in Bassett, and also signed Marte and Escobar. Got a couple of relievers. Blame DeGrom for getting injured. How about that? Whose fault is that? So, yeah, Chris, that doesn't matter. That's all nonsense. I don't care how long you've been alive, how long you've been a Mets fan. I have a father that's been alive a long time and been a Mets fan his whole life as well. What does that mean? That has nothing to do about losing, winning, or you being a negative Met fan. You've seen championships. You should be happier than me. I was born in 87. I've seen shit. I've seen 2 World Series appearances. I should be mad. At least you've seen a world championship or 2. I haven't. Maybe I should be the one complaining like you. And Matthew, I agree with you, buddy. Put a deal together. Let's go. Get it done. Carlos, I understand that. The 101 wins mean nothing. But it didn't mean nothing until the Mets lost in the playoffs. Because if they would have won a couple of rounds, it wouldn't have been nothing. You can't wait for the results to happen and say, oh, that was a bad year. That was their second best season in team history. That's a fact. I don't believe it's not about a fake trophy. It's just the fact is that was their second best season in franchise history, right? It ended badly. Was 2016 more successful than 2022? Maybe. I mean, you can decide. Yeah, explosive. I agree. They didn't make it to the World Series. I understand that. And that was their best season in franchise history in Major League Baseball, right? It's cool, but you can't be mad about a season that didn't end the way you wanted it to, because guess what, guys? There's only one team that's going to prevail. And who won in 2022? The Houston Astros, right? Who was the NL representative? The Philadelphia Phillies. That was the third wildcard team. I love that you guys are passionate. I could see it. I know you're frustrated. But last time I checked, the Mets came back from the dead this year. 11 games under 500. Irrelevant. Are now 5 games over and still a third wildcard team. I don't know what you guys are looking at, but the deadline's tomorrow at 6 p.m. Right? Things can still happen. Tanner Scott has not been traded. Flaherty hasn't been traded. Crochet hasn't been traded. Right? All the other guys you mentioned haven't moved. So why are we complaining here? Now, tomorrow at 6:30, if the Mets didn't get any of those games that we mentioned, now we can have a conversation. Now we can be bitching and moaning. But the bitch and moan when these guys are still on the market is silly. Because you guys are acting like he's not working the phones. Like, I don't understand people with that. Tanner to the Yankees? Okay. Well, that kind of made sense, right? Is that the fact? Is that happening right now? I haven't seen it, right? Let's see. Let's see. Has anybody seen that? Is that a fact? Let's see. Let's see. Just checking it out, guys. Let's see. All right. Trying to check other people right now. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Oh, yeah. I don't see anything either. Okay, so I don't think it happened yet. Yeah, but you just assume that it's a reality. It didn't happen. Like, I mean, come on. Like, the Yankees have made one move, and it's Jazz Chisholm. And I'm sorry, guys. Jazz Chisholm's not that very good. All right, I'm sorry. He's not. Yeah, I don't see nothing. So, no, okay. So, Tanner Scott could go to the Yankees, but he also could go to the Mets. He could go to the Dodgers. He could go to this team. Yankees and Marlins are bed buddies. Sure. I mean, if you believe that, that's fine. I mean, I mean, yeah, I mean, they still could get Tanner Scott. I mean, they have the prospects to do it. But I mean, come on, like you're saying something like it happened the way you said it in the comments. So again, they're still available. We're talking about something that hasn't happened yet. Again, we can come on tomorrow after the deadline and say, "Wow, we didn't get anybody of any of these guys." I'd have a problem with that. But to bitch and moan about something that hasn't happened yet is very silly. All right, I'm sorry about that. I was just I was getting messages. I thought something happened in the Mets group chat, so I just wanted to make sure we didn't miss them. All right. Let's see. I'm shocked the Mets haven't talked about trading for Bassett. Explosive. We don't know. See, we have no idea because I haven't heard any rumors that the Mets are talking to about anybody. Why is that? Because they don't leak anything. Again, I don't know how many. I went back because somebody was really annoying me in the comments yesterday after we got Jesse Winker. Right before we got Jesse Winker, right when we got Jesse Winker. I didn't see nobody. Heyman, DeComo, Sherman, even Passan. Nobody said anything about the Mets talking to the Nationals about Jesse Winker. You know what I heard? The Mets are talking to the Giants about Michael Conforto multiple times. And in the middle of the night, we get Jesse Winker. And that's when it was reported. Everything has been quiet. Everything. Stanek came out of nowhere. And you could say all you want. Oh, those guys don't matter. They matter. They do matter. Stanek was on the block. Maton was on the block. Stearns is proactive with those guys. Winker was the best bullpen, the best bench bat on the market. You might not care, but those are good additions. They're going to help this team. Would you rather have Winker coming up to the plate or starting some games or DJ Stewart? Would you rather have Stanek or would you rather have Diekman? Would you rather have Maton or some other fool? Right? I mean, come on. Like, we keep on talking about nonsense that hasn't happened yet. The Mets have been extremely good about not leaking stuff. Just because you don't hear nothing doesn't mean it's not happening. It's all right. Let it happen. I don't think Stearns is done. I do not think Stearns is done at all. The Mets have a game today. They're facing the Twins. According to some people in the chat, they're going to get swept by the Twins. So you're on a Mets channel. You're going to watch the game. Don't do any of that at all if you think they're going to get swept. Right? I guarantee you, prior to the Braves series, you probably thought they were going to get swept. Right? And you've probably been saying that every week for a couple of months now. The Mets have been one of the best teams in baseball over the last 2 months. What most of us didn't believe, that they were done 11 games under 500. Done. They fought back. They made themselves irrelevant. They made themselves relevant, excuse me. That's it. They made themselves relevant. They made David Stearns, who is probably on a plan of selling at the deadline, made him, right? You heard Pete Alonso at the All-Star game say, yeah, I want us to be buyers. I want Stearns to go get us reinforcements. Nimmo said it through the media. Severino, I don't know if you guys just heard that. They asked Severino about Blake Snell because that's been rumored. You know what Severino says? Yeah, Blake Snell's been pitching good. He looked like he found some. I would love to have him on this team. When do you hear players say that? So Severino wouldn't have said anything about Blake Snell if you don't think, and there's a little bit of a breadcrumbs here. Why would a media member that is a beat reporter for the Mets ask Severino about Blake Snell? He could ask about any other player. Flaherty, Skubal, at the time, Fetty, or anybody, any other pitcher. He asked about Blake Snell to Severino. So what does that tell you? Rumblings inside that clubhouse and rumblings inside Citi Field, maybe they are going after Blake Snell or trying to go after Blake Snell. Why would the media member ask about only Blake Snell? Right? he could have said, well, do you think the Mets need some starting pitching? No, he didn't ask it. He directly asked about Blake Snell. And Severino answered. So it's telling me, reading between the lines here, that there's rumblings going on around Citi Field in the clubhouse and through the media internally that they're talking about Blake Snell, at least more than others. That doesn't happen either. So you got to read the tea leaves a little bit, guys. You got to listen. You got to pay attention. Severino just said that when they interviewed him. I just saw it on X as well. And I believe it was Mike Puma who brought that, who actually said that. And shout out to Mike Puma who brought up about Conforto in the beginning, and then later kind of was like, wow, Jesse Winker came out of nowhere. He actually said it. So in my opinion, guys, I think we're going to get, maybe we will get Blake Snell. Now, all of a sudden, Met fans want Blake Snell when they didn't even want to touch him in free agency. Now, you're definitely going to take on that contract as well. And he probably opt in. He will stay into that contract. He's not opting out. He ain't getting $30 million after this year. So, yeah, explosive. That's what I said. Like, what reporter is going to ask about a specific player at the deadline? That made no sense to me. And it wasn't like a national reporter. It was a Mets beat reporter. Like, that's odd. Why ask about a specific player if that media member didn't hear something internally that the Mets are involved? That's a weird question to ask. So, hey, maybe it is Blake Snell. The Giants got a couple of bullpen arms. Why not package Snell and another bullpen piece in the Giants and make it happen that way? All right, is something happening here? Hold on. Trying to catch up here, guys. Trying to catch up here. Trying to talk to you guys and actually find stuff as well. I'm sorry. Got to figure it out. Come on. Blue Jays. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Hold on. All right. I don't see nothing yet. Oh, shit. Just dropped my damn phone. Well, Dwayne, I don't know if you see my video earlier, but I put up a trade proposal in my video for Scooble. You might not like it. Yeah, again, the Gelbs and Tacoma were just talking about Snell as an option. See, that's what I'm saying, guys. It's slowly coming out right now, right? That wasn't a coincidence that a reporter asked Severino about Blake Snell. Specifically, that made no sense. Why would they ask a specific player? It could have been a simple question. Hey, Severino, do you think that would it be nice for the Mets to get another starter in here? That's a universal question. But to specifically ask about a player that could be available is insane. It's insane to ask that. So maybe something is happening and it's going down, or it's starting to work out a little bit. Yeah, Carlos, but you can say that about every reporter. John Heyman said Arson Judge, but people still listen to him, right? Anthony DiComo, people hate him. Joel Sherman screwed up not too long ago. So, just going by that is kind of silly. But Mike Puma wasn't the one that brought up that question. He was in the media scrum in front of Severino, and he heard it, and he put it out there. And now Gelbs and DiComo are talking about it. So something's going on here, guys. They're not just talking about it to talk about it. They wasn't talked about 2 or 3 days ago. Now it's starting to pull out a little bit. It's a little weird. Well, easy. It's insane to ask that because media members don't ask about an individual player to another player on another team. That's collusion. Because if Severino says, yeah, I like Blake Snell, they can use it as collusion. Media members don't ask about a player. They might ask about a player that they traded for, who they just traded for, says, hey, how do you feel about Jesse Winker? But you don't ask a player, hey, what do you think about Blake Snell coming to the Mets? Like, who does that? That don't happen. So clearly either the reporter screwed up and said that question and probably shouldn't have said Snell's name, Or he heard something, the reporter, and he's like, maybe I'll get a reaction out of Severino. He did. So it kind of worked out both ways for him. Like I said, it's an odd question to ask a player that about another player on another team. You don't see that. Oh man, my phone dropped. Give me a second, guys. I see everybody talking in the chat. My phone's going ballistic. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Trying to figure things out here. Hold on. Joe said trade. I don't know who, but hold on. Hold on. It's loading. Oh boy. Hold on. What's going on, guys? Help me out here. I'm trying to talk and look, going back and forth. I look like an idiot. All right, hold on, guys. Hold on. Easy, not specific players. Come on. Come on. Be real here. Be real, Easy. Come on. They don't ask about players on other teams. They ask about, hey, do you think this team is going to do stuff at the deadline? Do you think they need a rotation arm, bullpen arm? They'll ask that. But they don't put specific players in players' ears and then they respond. It doesn't happen. Why Blake Snell? Why didn't he say Skubal? Why didn't he say Flaherty? Why didn't he say anybody, any other starter? He specifically said Blake Snell. Why? He wasn't a teammate of Luis Severino. Maybe if he was a teammate, okay, maybe I would say, all right, maybe that's an interesting question to ask. But he specifically brought up Blake Snell. Yeah, that's cute. The NFL and the NBA. The NBA colludes all the time. Players always says, yeah, I want to play with him. The NFL, they have leverage when it comes to contracts because they're not guaranteed. In Major League Baseball, you don't hear teams do that. You don't hear reporters ask a player about that. So they never ask about a certain player. Not like that. Once they get traded to that team and it might have just happened, they'll ask. But the reporters don't do that. So maybe, this is just me, maybe the reporter heard something internally inside the clubhouse, inside Citi Field, got a little inside scoop and says, oh, maybe I can get a reaction out of a player. He started talking to Severino and says, let me bring up Snell's name because that is unique. Right? And he's like, oh, maybe I'll bring that out there, kind of get people talking about it. And then Severino answers the question. That's crazy. That is nuts. So again, I'm not saying it's true, but it kind of makes a lot more sense for any other pitcher. Like Blake Snell makes a lot more sense because it's probably only going to be taking on his contract and taking that contract away from the Giants. Yeah, you might have to give probably a mid-level prospect, but you're taking on that contract. So that's more realistic than probably Skubal, unless you have to take on a bad contract, give a couple of prospects and everything like that. And even Crochet is probably going to cost you a lot. So Blake Snell makes more sense. Now, Blake Snell scares the hell out of me, and it's nice that he's been pitching better over his last couple of starts, but he scares the hell out of me. We'll see. We will see. Hold on, guys. I'm checking the comments. All right, so deadline 6 p.m. tomorrow. There's been a lot of trades going on today. It's a little weird because last year it wasn't the day before that really got active. It was the day of that really started going crazy. I'll see, Matthew. Here you go again with your negativity. Why? The team's 5 games over 500 in a playoff spot, and you're worrying about trading Alonso. You know how silly that sounds and stupid that is? I apologize, but geez, that's so stupid. We're in a playoff spot. Why do you care about trading Alonso? It's not happening. Stop dreaming about that. Please. That's so stupid. At least talk about players we can get, and we can have a conversation and argue about that. I'm not arguing about Alonso being traded because that ain't happening. Maybe in your little fantasy world, but not here. All right? Talk about who we can get. We're buyers. All right? This team never makes the playoffs. We're in a playoff spot right now with 2 months to go, with 57 games to play. Let's go. Win. Let's try to win. See next year about what? I don't care about next year. The world can end next year. I don't care about next year. You know what I care about? July 29th when they face the Twins with Jose Quintana on the mound. You know what I care about? What Stearns got cooking to help this team in 2024. I don't care about next year. Next year is irrelevant right now. And I can assure you, even if the Mets get a couple of players that cost us a couple of prospects, the Mets are not doomed. The Mets are not doomed next year. Why are they? They got $150 million on coming off the books, and they have one of the best top 10 farm systems in baseball, even with a couple of trades, because they had a hell of a draft this year too. So next year, they're not. How are they doomed? And you might say I'm tripping. That's cute. But I'm here in reality. You're in fantasy land. You want to worry about next year? Worry about next year. Shut off your TV and you can leave this stream as well. Because I don't understand what your issue is. You don't believe in this team. That's fine. You can believe however you want. But you'll be the first one at Citi Field in the playoffs. If the Mets are playing well and they make the playoffs, you'll be watching or you'll be at the game. It's very simple. Because you were clearly a bandwagon. And I don't care how old you are. I don't care how long you've been a Mets fan. Right? If you're old enough to have seen an 86 World Championship, I'm so happy for you. I wish I was you. I wish I would have seen it. You should be less angry that you've seen a World Series championship when I've seen appearances twice. And they were 15 years apart. That's it. Like, why does age have anything to do with it? I'd love to have seen the Mets win a championship. I was born a year after. What am I supposed to do? My dad told me all about it. He was at Shea Stadium. He's seen it. He was a little baby when the Mets won in '69. Like, I just don't get it. Age is so irrelevant. It has nothing to do with this year, by the way. It really does have nothing to do with the future. And if you're going to go into a season where the Mets have turned it around, and okay, you don't believe in them, I don't care. That's fine. That's your opinion. That's how you feel. I'm not going to change it. But you'll be the first one here watching the game, talking about the Mets, bitching on social media. And you might even go to a game. That's it. I appreciate you being here. We're having a conversation. We're arguing. We're going back and forth. I don't agree. You don't agree with me. That's fine. I mean, most of the people on this stream right now don't agree with me. But to become sellers or to talk about trading Alonso, what? Huh? Who? What? Why? What are you gaining from that? And don't tell me prospects, because they're not helping us this year. You believe in the team, you don't believe in Cohen. Well, Cohen actually put this team together. He paid for these guys to be here. So, yeah, Cohen has to believe it. He believed it. I don't know why you don't believe it. How do you believe in a team that Cohen basically put together? He paid Nimmo. He gave a contract to McNeil. He traded for Lindor. He paid Severino. He paid Minaya. He paid Quintana. Oh, look at that. Interesting. He paid Marte. He paid Bader. I can keep going. He paid for Diaz. He didn't trade for him, but he paid for him to keep him around. Oh, Laura, that's fun. Hey, Laura, how you doing? Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, maybe you're a financial guru and don't like what Cohen does with stocks or, with his hedge fund. I don't care about that. Nimmo, okay, that's nice. Okay, that's fine. Robert, I appreciate that. Let me see if I can find Andy Martino's tweet. Give me a second, guys. Let's look at it. Mets have checked in with Giants on Blakestown as one would expect them too. But as of now, there has been no traction. Okay. Now, they've been talking traction. I don't know whatever that means. I mean, if there's no traction, I mean, Blake Snell still hasn't been traded anywhere. So, Emerson, how you doing? Emerson, I'd love for them to get Scooble. It would shut up a lot of Met fans. I tell you that. Matthew, have you checked around baseball? The majority of baseball bats under 250. And listen, I'm an average person. Trust me, go back to all my videos and all my streams where I'm killing analytical people that don't care about average. I understand. I hate guys that don't hit for average. It pisses me off. But that's what baseball is now. I'm sorry to tell you, but that's what it is. 90% of baseball bats under 250. There's guys in this league that are batting under 200 and still playing every day. I don't understand it either. It pisses me to fuck off. I agree with you there, Matthew. Yeah, Matthew, I understand 21st in ERA, but guess what? That same pitching staff that you don't like and that's 21st in ERA was the one that kept this team alive for the first 2 months when the offense was nowhere to be found. So they did their job. And I agree with you. They got to get better pitching. I agree with you. I agree with you. Yeah, Matthew, look at baseball. Go down the lineups in baseball. How many teams have players batting under 250? It's a problem. Hold on. Trying to check. Guardians got Lane Thomas. That's a nice pickup for them. Hold on, guys. Hold on. So Lane Thomas to the Guardians. That's a good trade for them. I wonder what they had to give up. Alex Clemmy, who was drafted in the second round in the 2023, is going to the Nationals. Other names involved unclear. So they're going to give up a couple of prospects. Matthew Denhu. Again, we've talked about it for the last hour, Matthew. I told you the pitches that I would like to get. Again, give me any one of the guys you mentioned. I take any one of them. One more than the other, obviously. Like, I want Scooble. I'd give up prospects. I give up what it takes to get him. Not only do you have him for this year, you're talking about next year. Then let's go. We got him for 2 more years after that. Well, Matthew, I don't know if you see my video, but I would get Scooble. That's the guy I want. Like, personally, if I had a choice, regardless of price, I want Scooble. Because I don't just have him for 1 year. I have him for 2 more years after this. He is young, 26, 27. He's a top line starter. And if you want to worry about next year, he'll be with Senga as a 1-2. Possibly if you sign Severino, you got a 1-2-3 that's damn good. Right? Now, for who? I'm willing to give up a Jet Williams. I'm willing to give up a guy like, I would say, let's see, I'm trying to think right now because I had it earlier. I would give a Kevin Parada. I would give 3 of our top 10 prospects. If you have to give one of the pitchers away, all right, that sucks, but I do it because there's no guarantee that any of our prospect pitchers are going to be as good as Scooble or better. I would do it. I would give up 3 top 10 prospects. Name your price. Yeah, Ethan, I understand that, but that's going to come back down to earth. Nobody's giving 2 top prospects and taking on money to get Blake Snell. It's not happening. That's not going to work. You might get, in the Mets case, a Brett Beatty and maybe a top 15 prospect and take on the money. But nobody's giving up 2 top prospects and taking on the money. Now, I give 2 top prospects up and let the Giants take the money, but that's probably not going to happen. They're not trading Blake Snell just to get prospects. They're trying to screw somebody. Let's be honest. If somebody bites, well, good for the Giants. But the Giants are looking for a desperate team to give up prospects and take the money. So Emerson, yeah, I understand that, but we really don't know. Brandon Sprawn has been pretty damn good, right? But we don't know. Again, I think Stearns has untouchable prospects, which every GM should have untouchables. But there's also too many infielders as prospects. There's not enough room for all these guys. Now, it's Stearns' job to figure out which ones are going to turn out or which ones are going to be better than the others, because when you get good, you use prospects to make the team better. And this team, I don't care. Look, do I think they can win the World Series? I mean, maybe. I mean, I don't know. But you can't tell me the Dodgers can win the World Series. Why? What's proving you from that? They won a bullshit 2020 World Series in COVID, and they've choked every single year. So don't give me the Dodgers. The Yankees haven't made the playoffs, the World Series, since 2009. Right? The Phillies made the World Series last year, but they lost. And in 2022, they were one of the lowest odds to get to the World Series. And they made it. I've seen the Diamondbacks and the Phillies the last 2 seasons that were the third wildcard team make the World Series. Matthew, you and me both, buddy. You and me both. And listen, I will be the first one on here tomorrow. I got a couple of streams tomorrow. As soon as I get home from work, I'm live until the deadline's over. Probably around 1:30. I'm going to be there. I'm going to have Hayden on. I'm going to have Hector on. I'm going to have a ton of people on just to hang out and talk and see what happens. Right? I will be the first one. If there's not at least one big move for an arm, bullpen, or rotation, I'm not going to be happy. I'm telling you this, guys, right now. And even the little moves, even if he does a couple of little moves, and it might make the team better, but it may not put these guys over the top. Again, we don't know yet. But if they don't make one of these big moves for a rotation arm or a bullpen arm, I'm not going to be happy. I'm going to tell you that right now. I'd be the first one to call out David Stearns. And I've been a big supporter of David Stearns. And I'll even call out Cohen, because I still think the Mets can take on a bad contract or take a contract that a team doesn't want to get better. So that would be a problem on Stearns' front for me and Cohen's front. Yuki, I might do that. I got to get in touch with these guys. Remember, everybody has shows tomorrow too. So, everybody's doing their own thing as well. I can't just, maybe we'll pop into different shows. We'll see. Again, a lot's going to happen. So listen, guys, the Mets got a game today against the Twins. We got Jose Quintana on the mound with former Mets prospect Simeon Woods Richardson, who's facing us. With that said, let's see what happens, guys. We got less than 24 hours until the trade deadline. What is David Stearns going to do? Is he going to make a big move? I'm still on the side of he's going to make at least one big move. And it's probably more possible to get a starter than a reliever as a big arm. We'll see. With that said, everybody have a good night. Thank you for tuning in to Mets Talk Live, a special MLB trade deadline special edition of the show. Enjoy the game, guys. Let's go, Mets. Let's get that W. And let's remain in the wild card, guys. And hey, the Phillies are losing. I know it's kind of a weird feeling because the Yankees are playing the Phillies, but we got to root for the Yankees, don't we? I mean, the Phillies are in our division. We want them to lose, right? I'm not saying we're going to catch the Phillies, but not too long ago, we were 16 games out of the division. Now we're 10. Hey, a bad week by the Phillies and a good week by the Mets, we might be talking about 5 or 6 games back of them. No, Matthew, never hard feelings. I'll tell you that right now. I don't take nothing to heart, and there's no grudges. I tell you that. So with that said, guys, enjoy the game. Let's go, Mets. Let's hope tomorrow we're talking about some good damn moves to make this team better and make our playoff run. With that said, everybody have a good night. Let's go, Mets. And I'll see you next time, guys. Enjoy the game.